What is going on, my friends? Cubs fan Han here, and I am joined by the esteemed developers at Capital Games so we can talk about some really exciting stuff coming to ships. By now, you already know that we are having a lot of changes coming to ships, and in this video, we're going to talk a little bit more about them, and in particular, we want to get into reinforcement abilities, which are kind of blowing my mind right now, so I hope these friends we have with us today in this video will be able to help set the record straight. So who do we have? We've got Chris, we've got Michael, and we've got the celebrity on Reddit, Carrie, the senior producer. How are you guys all doing?
What? Hello. Yeah, I'm CG Carrie. Everyone's probably sick of me by now. I'm the senior producer on this game, and I don't do anything. That's why I brought two designers with me this time to actually talk about what they do. And so let's get right to them.
Hey, I'm Chris. I am the ship's designer here, and my form tag is CGC Mandalorian.
Okay.
Hi, this is Michael. I help work on characters and some ships. And my form handle is CG Parking Instructor.
I can see the shame in your face when you say that.
It's like,
No
why
shame.
did I choose this name?
No shame at all.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on my channel and talk about this stuff. I am really excited. When I heard that you guys were doing this much with ships, I was excited. And then I saw how much was happening. And I think my brain started to hurt a bit because you guys are doing so much with this game mode. I think it's really exciting because, I mean, we all know ships has kind of felt neglected. I'm sure you guys will acknowledge that. I know we've kind of felt that. So maybe Carrie, can you start us off here and tell us a little bit about kind of where this is coming from and maybe how long this has been in development?
Yeah. I mean, ships was the first sort of big project that I joined the team to do and help out with. And for me, the really exciting thing about it, one of the sort of pillars of our game is that it's about kind of living out your fantasy Star Wars sort of toy box universe with all the different parts of the Star Wars universe together. And I think ships was obviously such an important part of that. It's such an important part of Star Wars. And so it was really exciting when we launched ships, and we had a lot of learnings coming out of that.
Right.
Our original intention was to do a follow-up to that update actually exactly a year ago, in last May's update. And it began, I think that's sort of when Chris was doing sort of working on all the ships coming into the game, and we were thinking, all right, well, we need to put a little pin in it so that we don't make too many changes to ships right before we change them entirely. And so we had been thinking about all these different things, and we were going to do a PvE table, and we were going to do all this other stuff. And then the looming kind of territory battles was coming up, and we were like, oh my gosh, will we have time to do battles and wars and ships all this year? Let's put a pin in ships just for now, figure out exactly what we want to do. And that was around that time that I think there was sort of a revelation from design that was like, why don't we change some of the core mechanics of ships from 5v5 to 3v3? And what you mentioned at the beginning, what we're going to talk about a lot right now is this concept of reinforcement abilities, which are sort of the next iteration of what the hardware abilities is supposed to be.
Right.
So for us, what you would have seen is the clue that we were working on it. The one thing that we did do last May was the picture-in-picture mode, because we were trying to say, like, what is it about ships that people like? And so much of the iconic sort of ship's view is seeing someone kind of in the cockpit cam. And so the idea that we would have that pop up, and so that would also help reinforce which ship, so that you could, maybe not get all your X-Wings confused and know exactly who you're dealing with at every moment. And that was just one piece of it. And it was intended to be accompanied by PvE and something else. And I'm actually really, really glad that we didn't release it back then, because it allowed us to start working on territory battles earlier than we would have. And I think we needed to do that. But also, more importantly, in the last year, and Chris and Michael and a lot of the team here, their thinking has evolved on what ships is going to be, and that's where 3v3 came from, and these reinforcement abilities.
No, I just gotta say, let me interject from a player's point of view. I've been vocal. You guys have probably heard me say before, ships has never been my favorite game mode, and the reason I have felt that way is because the battles just feel so long. The progress is so slow, and when they first came out, I was amped about ships. I was super stoked about the whole thing. I thought the animations were amazing. I was jazzed, and then it just started to feel so sweaty. So when I heard it was going to be 3v3, and now that I've had a chance to actually play that, I think this is going to really be a huge turning point for this game mode for me. Just the 3v3 concept, because to me, it feels more exciting and more engaging. So I think that was a really positive move.
Yeah, well, you know, and I've talked to you a little bit about this, is that when we make a decision to do something, we start with sort of like a vision for like what is the intention behind that, right? That's really where my job ends. And so there's certain parts of it was like, they're too long, they're not dynamic enough, there wasn't enough, you know, intentionality in ships. And then the third component was that sort of feeling of like really understanding what each ship does and who it belongs to and why it's important to you. And I think we made some progress on the last one with the picture-in-picture stuff, but we didn't on the first two, and so that's where the 3v3 and the reinforcement abilities come in.
Yeah, and it's really good to hear that that you're saying you're already like excited about 3v3 and the pacing of it, because that's really what we're going for. We're going for quicker, more intense, more strategic battles. And three, like starting out with 3, and to be clear, you can still reinforce up to 5. I think that was something that we're making sure everybody knows, that it's not just we're taking 2 ships away, but just the starting out with 3 and how that starting lineup can weaken one ship to the point where you immediately have this intense feeling of like, okay, every decision matters. I have to make sure I pick my abilities correctly, I pick my reinforcements correctly is the intent, is exactly what we're going for. And because the battles are shorter, we are able to move the ridiculously long 7.5 minute timer down to the
Hooray!
down to the normal 5. And then, I mean, even with 5 minutes, most of the battles where it's around 2.5, 3 minute long battle.
Yep, and that's what I've experienced.
Like, because I know there are some really experienced ship players that are able to get the battle time, like in the current mode, down to like maybe a minute or 2.
Right.
But it's all, to me, like when I first tried out 3v3, it's all about like the feeling of like the interaction between like your team and the opponents. So like Chris was saying, like the pacing got a lot better, and then like there are a lot more strategic decisions that you can make to influence the outcome of the battle. Like I could probably finish a battle in a minute or 2 in the current, like on prod right now, but
it's a very game developer
exactly.
term. Live on live.
Okay, so on live.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, apologize.
No worries.
Sorry about that, but
inside baseball is good.
Yeah.
It's Cubs fan. We can use inside baseball.
We could talk baseball here. We could talk about whatever.
But yeah, what I'm trying to say is like for some for a small amount of like expert player in ships, the time might be like the time to kill might be the same, but I think they will definitely get a lot more enjoyment out of it.
So steering the conversation a bit towards reinforcement abilities, this is where when I started reading these, I thought, oh wow, this is a big change. This is huge, because and to me, I kind of felt, I've got a few questions about this. I'd kind of like to hit on. First of all, to me, when I looked at these, it feels like this is almost comparable to like a ship's version of a Zeta in some ways. Is that kind of your thinking, that this is that big of a game changer for the ships?
Yeah, that's kind of what we're going for. Is it's meant to be a really powerful, impactful ability that can, because it's only happening one time when the ships enter battle, it's meant to be really powerful and change, like have this big swing, kind of change the tide of the fight. So
it's the intentionality too, right? Because you're now saving that, like, you could have reinforced before, you know, one way or another, but I think now it's like figuring out which order you want to reinforce in is really a part of the dynamism that is coming out of this gameplay mode, and why the reinforcement stuff. And I think it's clear we say reinforcement, but like specifically there is a new ability that fires when you call on a reinforcement, and because it's now 3 starting ships and 5 reinforcement ships, you have 5 new types of abilities inside of 4.
Same 4.
Yeah, and I'm just looking through some of these reinforcement abilities, just to clarify if it's not clear for those of you watching. These are new abilities we do not have at all in the game right now. So with these reinforcement abilities, I'm noticing a lot of them are going to upgrade too. And so what ability materials are we going to be using to do that? Are we going to be using existing mats that we have for ships, or is there going to be like a new currency, kind of like we had with Zeta abilities? And if so, where are we going to get it?
Yeah, so we're still figuring out where it's actually going to land in the game, but it will be a new material that you'll use specifically to upgrade the reinforcement abilities.
Cool.
Similar to, like you're saying, like a Zeta material type thing.
So we're going to have 2 Zeta crunches now. Oh, no.
Not
What have you done?
That sounded very sinister, that laugh. I don't know. I mean, think of it this way: more fun things to do and exciting things to chase and unlock.
Yeah. So talking about some specific reinforcement abilities and why I think these are going to be such big game changers. Some example. Now, obviously, all of these are subject to change, if I understand correctly, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So don't write this all down and set it in stone, my friends. But just some examples. I mean, we've got like Umbaran Starfighter. When it comes in, it's gonna wipe Terminator down from everyone. I noticed the TIE Advanced inflicts, I think it was 4 dots and offense down on everyone. Just these big dramatic entrances. And speaking of, I mean, Poe even had an ability called Dramatic Entrance, which I think is really fitting for Poe. So to me, these look like I'd love to hear you speak about specific abilities you're excited about, but it looks like this is going to dramatically shift the meta for ships dramatically.
Yeah.
I don't think I think it's almost like starting from square one on what the meta is.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're going to see a lot more variety. Like you were mentioning earlier, there isn't a lot of variety currently live.
Right.
But with the amount of different reinforcement abilities and just bringing up the viability of other ships, I think we're going to see a lot of variety, not only in the starting fleets, but also in the reinforcements, because the reinforcements are really meant to feel like a cards in hand type thing.
Yeah.
Where you have these tools at your disposal and you're strategically deciding, how do I want to use these? What's the best time to call this one in? What's the best time if I need a taunt? Do I have a reinforcement that I can call in to protect my weaker, like glass cannon type ships? So yeah, some of the ones that we're excited about is the Falcon. For the reinforcement ability, each upgrade. What's that?
Doesn't it gain thrust reversal, a couple stacks of it
Yes.
just right out the gate?
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
sweet.
So each time you upgrade it, you get another stack, so that you can reinforce with 3 stacks, and then with your first turn with the Falcon, thrust reversal again, and get up to 6 stacks of thrust reversal right out the gate. Yeah.
Impenetrable.
Yeah. So yeah, we're looking forward to all the comps that you guys come up with and the fun that you can have with reinforcement abilities.
I like the way you just described that of cards in hand kind of thing. It's like what you've got different cards to play for different situations. I mean, another example I was looking at was the Gauntlet Starfighter. You gain 30% protection for all allies. That's a great come from behind move. You're down, your ships are suffering. You're able to give protection to everybody and hopefully turn the tide of that battle. Or Cassian has a mass dispel. If the enemy team you're stuck behind a taunt from Biggs, for example, you need to get rid of that and focus on weaker ships to get up an advantage. I think that I like that analogy you gave of cards in hand. It seems like a lot more strategic, which I both love, and I have a love-hate relationship with that, because now I have to think more about those ships battles.
It's funny that Chris said that. I've actually not heard him say that before, but now they said it. It's sort of like we're taking ships battle from like 5-card poker to Hold'em, right?
Oh, yeah, that's good. I like
you're
that.
Sort of relying more on kind of what comes to you and how you can play that strategically, as opposed to like what you just get dealt, out the gate. It's a little bit of a tenuous metaphor, but I like it. I think we're gonna go with it.
Texas Hold'em is the way to play poker. Who plays 5-card poker anymore? Come on.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
Yeah, and another one that we're super excited about, and what you said earlier got me thinking about it, is the fact that you wanted to dispel Biggs' taunt, and we are aware that like Biggs is the tank currently, and that we need more taunts. So we, being that Clone Sergeant's Arc 170, he's already a tanky ship. We gave him a taunt on enter.
Awesome.
That basically he gets a taunt when he enters, and then he's always taunting while he has protection. So you have to get his protection gone before you can get around that taunt. So we're hoping that those changes also increase the viability of other fleets where you're not only ever running bigs and going around like a target lock mechanic to get him to be your taunting tank.
And you'll have to help me because I didn't write down who it was, but I was reading through all the abilities as they were, in the beta. And I think there was a reinforcement ability that would give a taunt to somebody else. Am I right? You could select an ally to taunt.
So you might be thinking of Geospy.
Yes.
Where it makes an enemy taunt.
Oh, that's okay. He makes an enemy taunt. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're stuck behind a taunt, you want to attack this person, and that ability, I'm assuming, then would ignore taunt. You could select somebody else who is not taunting
Exactly.
currently.
Yeah. And I think, and this might be subject to change too, of course, but I think on his max upgrade, he selects a second target. So if you have one ship, enemy ship taunting, you could come in with Genosian Spy and he'll make both the other ones taunt, and then it's just like no one's taunting.
That's
So
a great
like,
counter
whatever.
to the taunt. Yeah, that's really good. Obviously, I feel like all of these changes seem to be positive. We need to see how we live into them as they come, of course. But I'm curious. There are some people who are real diehard fans of ships the way that it is. So what would you say to those people who are going to be I guess frustrated with they've got their nice little comfy routine of how they do ships, and now it's going to change?
So yeah, that's a great question, and that's something that we've been thinking about throughout this whole process, is making sure that we're not messing with the integrity of ships in a way that we feel like you guys are and our players aren't going to enjoy. And we've done a number of internal play tests and also had some diehard ships fans come out and play it just to get feedback and see what their initial reactions are. And we've had some overwhelmingly positive feedback. I think it's safe to say that like the initial, even earlier when you said when you first saw it, it was almost a little overwhelming. Yeah. I think there'll be some sticker shock in just the amount of change and the new mechanics to it. But we're really hopeful and confident that it'll be a change that people really enjoy.
And that's another reason that we spent a year is moving it in that direction, is because we really wanted to make sure that we did it right. It's difficult to go in and change an existing mechanic because you're always going to upset somebody.
Yeah.
And so
nobody gets upset in this game ever.
Yeah.
We don't take this seriously.
No, yeah, I mean, like, you don't want to screw up a good thing for people, but I think that what these guys have done is really sort of raise the floor with and the ceiling to a degree, but in a way that I think most people are really like it.
All right, so in conclusion, while we have been discussing all of this, I have heard Carrie do an impersonation of me about 5 times. And so just to end the video right, Carrie, I want to give you a chance for all the people out there to do your best Cubs fan Han impersonation.
Okay. Do that.
I'm setting myself up here. Do it.
What's up, you guys? It's Cubs fan Han here. Like that.
Oh, awesome. All right. Now, everyone in the comments below, do your best impersonations too in text form.
It's sort of, it's not a personal thing. It's sort of a YouTuber thing. So it's funny
Yeah.
how it's become the paradigm. Just like I get made fun of for saying soon, TM, or some people in this office get made fun of for saying the word August. So it's more, it's a loving tease.
We've got a lot of good inside jokes. We've been through a lot. I mean, this game's been around for 2 years, and the developers, the players, the YouTubers, we've been through quite the journey over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I would say every time almost anything happens in the office, someone comes up to me and says, "Can we give Chewy shards away?" And I'm like, "No, it has to be special."
Well, I will always take some Chewy shards. I think that's always a good laugh, especially if they come accompanied with some Treya shards. Am I right? Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me for this video. Something I gotta say is I love that your studio is going around doing videos with us, explaining these things verbally. I know a lot of people like to just see the text, but I really like hearing it from you guys, and so I think it's a really, really good thing that you're getting out in the community more. I think the communication has been dramatically improved. While we're seeing the ships improvements. The communication improvement in general has been really good to see. So props to you guys. We appreciate it. We hope you keep it up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We are also all of us fans of this game.
Yeah.
And so, you know, our excitement around what we do is palpable in this office, and so it's been fun to be able to communicate. But I also, especially, I'm very grateful that these two designers got up this early on the weekend to help put this together with you, because these guys really do all the kind of muscle, along with lots of other people and artists and other designers and all kinds of hardworking people. But getting to hear from them what their vision is also really exciting.
Awesome.
So thanks, Chris and Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for watching. Let us know what you think down in the comments below of the new changes coming to ships. I'm sure a lot more information will be coming soon. As always, my friends, don't forget.
For my dead body. Sorry about the mess.